a Marmite, so some people really like it, but yeah, I know, I love it. Really.
The process behind making whisky and the various different types of whisky that there are. We will then do an aroma test, which is kind of an icebreaker. It's a little late to do an icebreaker, but it's still a good way to get to know everyone at the table and have some fun with aromas, which you probably haven't heard of before. We're then going to look at the whisky regions of Scotland, and also we'll do a global whisky tasting, which is when all of the 8 whiskies in front of you will come into play. And then last but by no means least, we'll talk about the Dalmore, and then we'll be sampling each of these 4 Dalmore expressions that we have. The first part of this, or the before shot of this is actually
these are kind of the general flavours that you get in whisky, and then kind of divided. So for instance, you've got fruity on one side, spices, and sweeter tastes as well.
But no, it's very much it's sort of the expertise.
Chinese specifically have.
5 is nutty. Everyone gets sort of almonds or something like that. Yeah, 10 points for almonds. Yeah, any sort of nuts, you can go for that.
I put cereals.
Sorry?
I put cereals.
Cereals, grains, no. Okay, yeah, 5 points for that. Okay. I'm just going to use the heat from your fingers will heat up the whiskey. You don't want that to happen. You want whiskey to be room temperature, ideally. If it's too cold, you lose some of the flavour. If it's too warm, again, you lose some of the flavour. So room temperature. So hold it by the stem or just at the base of at the top of the base. You're then going to look at the colour of it, analyse that, look at the legs, which is the sort of indication of viscosity and alcohol in the glass. So give it a good swirl around. And once you've looked at the colour, quite often a sort of light auburn or sort of caramel style colour, you're then going to nose the whisky, which is a really important part because there's a lot of amazing aromas that come out of a malt. And what Richard Patterson likes to say is, you're actually trying to get to know the whisky. So when you're actually inhaling, get your nose right in the glass. Right in the glass, and actually breathe long and quite deep, but don't breathe too hard or all you get is that alcohol vapour going in. Okay, so just go up to it and say hello. Hello. And go back. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, cheers. And it's just, what it does is it just allows you to really get into that and really assess the aromas. So, once you've done that, but don't do it now, is you take a drink of the whiskey, and the most important thing not to do is just shoot it back like you would a shot of vodka or Jaeger or something. You actually, because of the amount of time and effort that's gone into the whiskey, you want to allow it to roll around the tongue and actually allow the flavours to absorb in all of your taste buds. And a general rule of thumb is for every year that the whiskey is old, you hold it in the mouth for that same number of seconds. Now, for these whiskies, it's not that's perfectly achievable. They're all sort of 10 to 12 years old. Whereas if you look at things like the Dalmore Trinitas, which is 64 years old, you don't need to hold it for a whole minute. You get enough flavour after usually sort of between 10 and 15 seconds.
I'm Adam Willis, similar to Ron. For me, whiskey was very much an interest anyway, but something which I very lightly touched upon. It's good to sort of reinforce that interest and take that a little bit further. The Japanese, I felt was something which is very interesting, something which is maybe something to keep an eye on. And I think the Dalmore range as a whole was something as well which was very interesting with looking at to take further.
Paul Hogg, I'm the group bar manager of the Mugford group, based here in Oxford.
Okay, and what is it you've learned today?
Really, the main sort of distinguish between all the different whiskies throughout the different countries, and then especially with coming into the Dalmore, really good to see the difference between the sort of ages between the 12, 15 and 18, and yeah, really good training on the characteristics of the whisky. Yeah, fantastic.
And how did the aroma test really sort of help with setting everything up?
Actually, it's the first time I've done that, so yeah, good positive feedback on that.